Question 2-3. So the growth of a tile pattern C is represented by the equation y equals 3x plus 1. So remember again, y here represents the total number of tiles. And then again, x represents the figure number. So here it says fill in the table for pattern C. So again, like you guys have done before, you can always do it like you did in the previous chapter where you can substitute the values, right? So y equals 3 times and then something plus 1, right? So here, figure 0, if we substitute a 0 for x, and then we simplify, we're going to find that y equals 3 times 0 is 0 plus 1 equals 1. And then we do the same thing. So for the second value, so this is 1. So y equals 3 times, the figure number now is 1, and then plus 1. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 gives us 4. So the next one has 4. Now if you substitute 2, what do you get? You get y equals 3 times 2 plus 1, which is 7. And then again, if you notice, now if you start picking other patterns on the table, you'll notice that this is growing by 3s. So the next one would be 10, and the last one would be 13. Again, by how many tiles is each pattern figure in pattern C growing? So it's growing by 3s. And then what is the starting value? So what is the figure 0? In this case, happens to be 1 tile total. How can you use the table to determine the growth and starting value? So the growth is always a number that's multiplying the figure number, right? So growth is the number that multiplies the figure number. And then lastly, the initial value or the starting value. So the starting value is the constant number. So where do you look in the equation to see the growth and the starting value? So again, the growth is multiplying the x, right? So the growth multiplies the x value, which in this case happens to be your figure number. And then again, your starting value is the number by itself, right? Is the constant. So for question 2-5, now consider pattern D. Draw figures 0 and 4 for this pattern on the resource page. In this case, again, use a link so you guys can do it on your own paper. Write an equation for the number of tiles in this pattern. Use color to show where the numbers in your equation appear in the tile pattern. Use X for the number figure again, and Y for the number of tiles in the figure. And then we're going to make a table. And then first, let's go back to that. So we want to draw figure 0. So if you notice, there's always like 1 in the center, right? And then this one has 4 right there. So those are the 4 original that came from the previous figure. And then there's 4 more on the side right there. So we're going to start off with the one that's always there, the center one. So if we're adding 4, that means that we added 4 more to this part right here. Okay. And then pretty much to figure out the figure 4, if you notice, we have 1, 2, 3 here. So we're going to have 3 on each side. All right, let's make it blue. maybe not. So 3 on each side. And then again, the ones that we're going to be adding are going to be 4 more. That means 1 to each corner. Right, and so now the ones that are being added will be right here. I'll put them in green so they look different. One's over here too. Green. And down here as well. Green. And then the last one we're adding will be down here as well. Green. So if you notice, except for the ones that I pretty much messed up right there, let me replace it. So the way it's growing, we have the previous one in red here. And if you notice, we have 4 more on the edges right there. So here it says, again, make a table. So write the equation. So figure 0 had only 1, right? Figure 0 had 1 tile. And then figure 4 has how many tiles? There we go. So we have 3, so 12, 13 in total from the previous one, plus 4 more, so that's 17. This one has 17 here, right? This one has 3, 6, 9, 12, 13. This one has 9. This one has 5, and that one has 1. All right, so this one has 17, like we said. Figure 1 has 5. Figure 2 has a total of 9, and then figure 3 has a total of 13. So write an equation for the number of tiles in this pattern. Use color to show, right? And then use X for the figure number and Y for the number of tiles in the figure. So Y, the total number of figures, equals, right, X. And then again, your growth pattern. How is this growing? You notice from the patterns, pretty much it was growing by 4. And then your initial value was 1, or your starting value. So now I'm going to make a table. So X and Y again. So pretty much all these values that you guys have right here should be kind of like your points, right? It's the figure number, which is X. So we start 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then our figure number of tiles has a total of 1 for the first one, 5 for the second one, 9 for 0.2, and then for X equals 3 is going to be 13, and then for X equals 4 is going to be 17. Question D, what is the same amount this pattern and pattern C? What is difference, right? What would those similarities be? Look like in the tile pattern. So how does this change than pattern C, which was this one, right? The table. So if you notice, what's in this case, what's similar is that pretty much they just give you an equation first, right? We started off with an equation. Okay. We also created a table. We also created a table. And then what was different from the other two patterns was we didn't see the number of tiles first, right? So what do the similarities and differences in part D look like in the equation? So in the equation, so if you notice, for this one, we had y equals 3x plus 1. For this one, we have 4x plus 1. So we have the same starting value, but a difference, right? So same starting value, but different growth value. And then again, the X for the tables, what similarities and differences look like in the tables. So the X values are the same, right? The same. And we can say that both the y values, right, the y values are going up. So the y values are increasing. And then for the next lesson, we're going to take this again a little bit more further. So make sure you guys take your notes. If you need to retake the Edpuzzle, just let me know, please.